Let me turn my mic down here before I show my face because it was a little loud yesterday. A little bit there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. We're back today. Return of the Hare. We're playing Mythos Tales again. Again. So, this is what we're doing. We are doing second scenario in the book. If you caught my first stream, it was the intro scenario, and today we're doing the second one. It's titled Flesh and Blood. So that's what we're going to do. This takes place on August 8th, 1929. Early 1900s. Long before. Alyssa! Howdy! Howdy, partner. All right. Good to see some people watching, some of the homies. All right, so quick rundown of the game. If you didn't watch my last stream or don't know what this is, basically, this is a storybook game in the sense of if you ever did any of the old Goosebump, like Choose Your Own Adventure storybooks where you'd read a chapter and it'd say, if you want to do this, go here. If you want to do this, go here. It's kind of like that. So this map represents different parts of the city. A lot of these different individual spaces, they're lettered and numbered. So basically, if I want to go there to try and talk to someone, I just go in the book and I try and see if someone's there. Most of the time, I'll find someone to talk to, but sometimes you'll end up at a dead end. But that's basically it. You're going to read a passage, try and pick up as many clues as you possibly can, and then use those clues to figure out where to go next. And I will have a certain amount of time that I will have to try and solve the case, and then I will have to answer a bunch of questions at the end about everything I found out. And the score I get is based entirely off how many of those questions I can answer correctly. So that is a rundown here. And all right, and I got my handy dandy notepad here with only one sheet of paper, so we'll have to be conservative. So as we learned the first time we played, notes are super important. Take as many detailed notes as humanly possible when you play this game. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news bears. And I also paid attention to the wrong things last time. So it's not just reading what's happening, but also interpreting and figuring out which of these, what parts of the information are important. So we have the storybook. The directory here is going to have people's names and where they are on the map, as well as businesses. And then I also have this newspaper that may give me some information here. So that's it. That's basically the whole thing. I'm gonna, since this is a storybook game, I'm gonna be reading it. There's gonna be a lot of narrative here. So good thing I have a radio voice. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll read this passage, and I'm going to figure out, actually need to figure out how many requirement cards. Oh, these have requirement cards. So one of the components in the box here that you may need on some of these is we have these cards. And these cards are just numbered. These are called requirement cards. And you may get... They basically will represent different items or different things that you'll find in the game. So according to this, I may need these at some point. So I'll have these set off to the side over here. And then we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Read supplemental encounter. You must read it. That's totally fine. Let's see. Evening of day 5. So that is... So I have to have this solved and figured out by the end of the 5th day is basically my time frame to have this figured out. All right, so I think that's all the information that I need to get everything set up here. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead, and there's this little excerpt here. This is basically Armitage giving you a quick overview. And the overview is just going to tell you how long you have, a quick little summary. And then we have the actual opening statements over here along with the picture. And then from there, it just goes down to all of these little sections here, different places that you can go. There is a little bit of a little thing here. Don't be tempted to read other things on the pages that you're looking at because you want this to try and remain a mystery as much as possible. Hi from Vancouver, Canada. Hello, Vancouver, Canada, also known as Tori Hatlin, I believe, if you pronounce that. Howdy, howdy. Thank you for joining us. Let's see if I got the hair and everything today. So let's see exactly how we do against the Ildagogs. Okay, investigation complexity. Armitage tells you, I believe this should be a rather straightforward investigation. However, guard yourself well. We're dealing with an aggressive foe. I'd estimate that I can solve this case by visiting between 7 and 11 locations. He is a little snarky, to be honest. Keep in mind, this is just an estimation based on what is presented in the introduction. Take my estimation for what it's worth. There may be surprises along the way that even I cannot foresee. I'm going to give you plenty of time to find the perpetrator, so don't rush in haphazardly trying to solve this too quickly. However, let's wrap this up by day 5 evening. So those little excerpts will just tell you basically how long you have, and also to give you kind of like a general area of how many places you should expect to visit for a decent score, basically. So somewhere between 7 and 11 is probably how we're going to optimize our score there. Okay, so Flesh and Blood, investigation number 2, Arkham, Massachusetts, August 8th, 1929. This is where our story takes place. Close, Silent E. Tor, got it. Tor Silent E. Hatlin, thank you for joining us. All right, let's get into this. On a wet August morning, you step into the office of Professor Henry Armitage in Miskatonic University's renowned Orne Library. You're supposed to find no one waiting for you. It was only this morning that you received his call, and you've never known him to be late or miss an appointment. You spend a few minutes watering Armitage's violets. Forgive my late arrival, Armitage's voice from the hallway. Please don't think I take your assistance for granted. It's been an eventful morning. His arrival doesn't... I'm usually pretty good at reading. This word is eluding me. Assuage? Assuage? It doesn't lessen your anxiety. Just ignore that. Late and apologetic, something is amiss. He hands you today's copy of the Arkham Advertiser. You catch the headline, Night Watchman Found Dead at Miskatonic. The old man wipes the dirt and leaves from his shoes. 3 years ago, there was an attempt to steal a very dangerous book from the restricted section of the library. The theft was prevented, but it was clear that more security was required. You think whoever killed this watchman stole this book, you ask? Before we get to that, there are several details about the murder the paper leaves out. Unpleasant details. Armitage closes the office door. The corpse was left in a rather grisly state. The attacker removed the victim's skin and his blood. Ugh. Your anxiety grows into icy dread. That's insane! It made perfect sense to someone last night, Armitage shakes his head. This morning, I informed a mother and father that someone left their son a mutilated corpse, and he had not worked here long. You know, I have witnessed so many unspeakably horrific things, but that... Armitage struggles to find the words. You reach over and place a comforting hand on Armitage's shoulder. He takes a moment to compose himself. There's something else you need to see. Make sure your shoes are clean and follow me. You wipe the mud from your shoes and accompany the old man down the hall to the restricted section of the library. As you do, you see a distinct trail of dried earth running along the floor. Was this from our killer? Indeed. Armitage stops at a door bearing the sign that reads, Restricted, no entry. The trail of mud goes no further. When I arrived this morning, the watchman's keys were in the lock and this door was open. The watchman's keys, however, will only open the outer door to the restricted area. Armitage unlocks the outer door and switches on the lights to illuminate the overstuffed shelves in the windowless room. A second door within the restricted section provides further protection for the Necronomicon. Armitage glances in its direction, and oddly the Necronomicon is in a foul mood today. One would think it would be excited. The trail of mud does not cross the threshold of the room. Yes, one would think, you mutter. You are not sure if Armitage is serious when he speaks of the Necronomicon's moods, but you have grown accustomed to this odd manner of expression. You glance quizzically around the room. He unlocked the door but didn't come inside? It's very telling, Armitage points to the inside of the door jamb, where there are a series of occult protection symbols etched into the wood. As I said, more security was required. The fact that the intruder couldn't pass this door with those protection symbols suggests that it was something other than human. Whatever it is, I believe it will grow more desperate as a result of this failure. Armitage closes the door and locks it. As the two of you walk to the library exit, he says, "We must find out what this creature is, what its motivations and intentions are, and most importantly, how to stop it. Inspector Garrison and his men have collected the evidence from the crime scene and turned it over to Dr. Corbett. He may have uncovered something." I have this idea that, well, I'm going to follow up with the Professor Robinson, our historian. And as much as I hate to admit it, there is someone else who might have knowledge on this creature. I won't mention the scoundrel, the occult expert. I wonder, perhaps, the Silver Twilight Lodge. Could they be behind this? You have proven yourself to be quite resourceful. You will figure it out, but be careful. We shall work independently. Time is not on our side. Armitage holds the front door open for you, letting a hard wind into the library. All right, so that is our opening statement here, and then here's a picture of a book and everything here. So, got stuff on the hands. All right, this is where pen and paper are going to be your best friend. So, let's go over this passage and look for key points. Now, as I pointed out in the first stream, the first introductory scenario, they took the liberty of bolding and highlighting a few specific parts of the speeches to try and help you figure out how to interpret the rest of the cases as you go forward. So this case, there's nothing that's highlighted or whatever. It's just text on the page, so we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper and use a little bit of critical thinking in the old noggin here and figure out exactly what it is that we can take out of it to try and pursue the next lead. So let's look for... So general deduction, let's look for specific places he may have mentioned. We do know he did mention specific people, so we do want to note that. He also mentioned if you play the first scenario or if you watch the first scenario, he did mention the scoundrel, which is the guy there. That is one of our allies here. So in this supplement here, it has a list of allies who basically every case will have something to tell you. And I know from what he said that it is going to be... where is it? It is... It's one of these... What's his name? No, it's someone here. I'll figure it out in a minute when we get there. So, all right. So first, let's go over this real fast and let's figure out exactly what it is we can take away from this. So it mentioned the Arkham Advertiser. So this is the paper for today. Every newspaper has a date on here, and this is today's paper. And sure enough, right here, Night Watchman found dead at Miskatonic. So we have a section here that we can read in just a minute to try and get some information out of the newspaper to see what he left out. But first, let's go over this. So let's see. Someone tried to steal the book. All right, so it was 3 years ago that someone tried to steal a book. So we'll put theft attempt. As I said, the more detailed you can make your notes so you remember them later, the better off you're going to be. So it was 3 years ago, which means it was 1926. That may not be relevant information, but I'm going to write it down anyways. Never said what book it was. All right, the attacker removed the victim's skin and their blood. Yes, now, attacker... removed skin and blood. That seems like a not great way to go, to be honest. Skin and blood. It's a good thing y'all can't specifically see my terrible chicken scratch over here. But I can read it, so that's all that matters. Let's see what else it says here. So there's that for that page. Restricted section, no entry, keys in the lock, Necronomicon, that's never good. So he did mention that they didn't come in through the doorway because of some symbols that they put on the inside of the door, like the door frame. So he thinks that our perp is not human thinks it is something else, because otherwise those symbols would probably do nothing. So, not human. Let's find what the creature is. So Inspector Garrison is someone he mentioned. He is the chief of police, so they collected evidence. So let's write that here. So Inspector Garrison is someone that he wrote there. So, and then they turn it over to Dr. Corbett. So we're going to write down Dr. Corbett. And then he also said he's going to follow up with Professor Robinson, who I think is the historian of the museum. And then he mentioned the occult expert and the Silver Twilight Lodge. So occult expert, like I said, is one of our contacts here. I just got to remember which one it is. It was... Alright, where is he? No. Aha, there it is. Pascal Fenton. So, Pascal Fenton, that is the guy we're looking for there. That's going to be... He's going to be at L4. Inspector Garrison is going to... Oh, yeah, here's the other one. Lyman is going to be one of our guys on the inside of the Order of the Silver Twilight Lodge. So let's go see Lyman at some point, see what he has to say. L18. Is there anything else we have here? Privilege class? No. No. All right. Who else? He also, so Corbett is at D45. Let's see what else we got here. Not Coffin. Robinson is at C17. And then... Inspector Morrison, that's the police station, which is D32. Okay, so those are all the people that he mentioned. Silver Twilight Lodge. So there's one more guy who's part of the Silver Twilight Lodge here. Carl Sanford is the leader of the Silver Twilight Lodge. So we're going to list him. And then it doesn't give me his address, but we can go here into the handy dandy directory and let's look up where Mr. Sanford lives. Sanford C, U56. So there's that. So that's all of those specific details that I pulled out of this. All right, so let's go ahead and read this section out of the newspaper and see if this gives us any extra information. Night watchman found dead at Miskatonic. A night watchman was discovered dead last night in a grisly state at Orne Library. The murder has some citizens of Arkham in an uproar over the contents locked away in the restricted rooms inside Orne Library. One such book, the Necronomicon, is believed by many to be cursed. Well, duh, everybody knows that. Even the mayor is expressing concerns about the contents of the Orne Library. My heart goes out to the family and friends of the victim. We don't know what prompted this attack, but I'm concerned the contents of the library make it a target for malicious deeds. The mayor was quoted as saying. When reached out for comment, Detective Garrison stated, "It could be a feud the guard had with someone else. We are looking into every possible lead." So it didn't really tell us a whole lot here, but that's okay. It's good to know everything. There's other things on this page, which I don't think right now is going to be super relevant, because we're just starting, so I might reference that later for something, but for now, that's everything that we need. So, our leads that we have open here. We didn't get a name of the... Right? We did not... Yeah, he didn't give us a name of the guy that was killed, so we can't follow that lead. But we have Inspector Garrison, Dr. Corbett, Professor Robinson, Pascal Fenton, Sebastian Lyman, and Carl Sanford, which these two are going to be Silver Twilight Lodge. That's the police, and then Robinson is going to be the historian. Pascal Fenton is going to be the mystic. Dr. Corbett is going to be at the hospital. And even though I know, let's go ahead and write that down for police. Like I said, detailed notes, people. You might remember it now. That doesn't mean you remember it later. So, okay. So let's see what we got here. Now, we have the Arkham Sanatorium, Speakeasy, My Home or Office. Okay. All right, so, okay. Inspector Garrison with the police, they're the ones that handle the crime scene. I don't know if they're going to have any more information than what we already know. So I think we're going to start with... I think if we can figure out what it was that possibly was trying to get in, may help us like figure out the why. So I want to start with the historian, Professor Robinson, and see what Professor Robinson has to say about all that. So Professor Robinson's at C17, so we're going to find C17. It's actually right here. We're going to read it. Clearly frustrated, Professor Robinson pounds her fist on one of the many file folders stacked on her desk. She grimaces when she sees you. I am so sorry. Please tell Professor Armitage I am so sorry. Sorry about what? You shut her office door behind you. This whole thing with she shudders. The flesh and blood. It's happened before. Ooh. But I can't recall when. There's over 200 years of recorded history on Arkham. She sullenly flips through papers. I need something to jog my memory, something that can narrow it down just a little bit. If you have requirement card 1, proceed to this. Oh! So, if I can find something that may jog her memory, then that may give me another passage to read. As it stands right now, it's not. So anytime you pick somewhere to go, we're going to have to go here and move this down. So that's my first one. And we're also going to... Where's my notepad? Handy dandy notepad, where'd you go? This is embarrassing and need you right now. Alright, I'm just going to use the another scratch sheet of paper over here. So this is what I'm going to use to track where I'm going. So first place that we went to was C17. Alright, so this way you want to keep track of where you've gone before, because if you need to backtrack and go somewhere again, it does count as one of your time slots. So be careful about that. Now, another thing to note about this, if you decide to try and go to a specific space and there's not an entry for it, you still use a time slot here, but it does not count against your score at the end of the game. So just something for you to note. All right. So if I could find something to jog her memory, then maybe we can do that here. So we need... I'm just going to put in parentheses, we need card 1 for Professor Robinson. Okay, she didn't have anything, so let's go talk to Fenton, and maybe Fenton will be able to point us towards somewhere. So Pascal Fenton is at L4. So let's go to L4. All right. Here we go. So there's a thing here, so let's go ahead and move that. I'm going to go ahead and mark it here on my page. We're going to go to L4. All right. So that's all the things. L4, L4. All right, this is Pascal Fenton. For as many times as you've seen the interior of Pascal Fenton's home, it never fails to disturb and surprise you. Each cabinet and shelf overflows with curios from long-forgotten civilizations. Most of these trinkets are obviously counterfeit, but a few seem unnervingly genuine. Pascal points you to an old, soft chair that exhales dust as you sit. Did Armitage send you? Has he finally admitted that old Fenton might just know a thing or two? Behold, all things are possible. Pascal laughs sarcastically. That thing that people do. I've forgotten more about the unseen world than Little Mouse will ever know. I'm surprised you have so long avoided becoming my student. Now tell me, how may I help you? Given Pascal's fascination with the grotesque, you don't spare any of the details of the Watchman's death. After you finish the story, the old occultist thinks silently. Tricky, he eventually concludes. There's a cult in the Orient that ritually skins their victims. If they are making an incursion into the Western world, well, I dread to consider what that could mean. Some Turkish immigrants get together for chess at the desolate highway cafe. It might be worth asking them about the Brothers of the Skin. Ugh. You finish taking notes and are about to leave when Pascal stops you. However, that doesn't take into account the loss of blood, nor the susceptibility to Armitage's primitive magical warding. Those elements suggest a vampire. You stare at Pascal, wondering if he's using you to tease Armitage. A vampire, like in the movie? Exactly. It drinks blood and it fears religious symbols. Ooh, another page. As well as basic protections like garlic and silver. By the way, did you see that vampire film at the Telenews? The protectionist there is probably well informed on the subject. Pascal strokes his chin. I can't imagine why a vampire would remove a victim's skin. I suppose that's all I can tell you. Good luck. All right. So we have a few things here that we can jot down. These are some. This is some good stuff right here. This guy really knows what he's talking about. I'll tell you. All right. So we went to Pascal. So let's take some notes on Pascal, or let's see what he has to say. Important points here. Western world. So Turkish immigrants at the desolate highway cafe. So let's go ahead and write that down. So desolate highway cafe. Above that, I'm just going to put Turkish immigrants. I don't know if that's super relevant, but we'll see. So Turkish immigrants. And then he called them Brothers of the Skin. Now he did mention that they don't do the blood; they just do skin. So he thinks that we are dealing with a vampire of some sorts, is what he said. Vampire. So let's see what it says here. Film at the Telenews. Now, this is interesting because I think it's a place that the projectionist there is probably well informed on the subject. Okay, so the Telenews, if we go there, maybe we can talk to him about it. See, it seems like a rabbit hole, right? Because I don't, like, do we really think that we're dealing with a vampire here of some sort? Okay, so we have, so we can pursue the leads that we've been suggested here, or we can continue to follow up with the other leads that we already got from the first section. So we could still talk to the police. We could still talk to Dr. Corbett. All right, let me just mark these. So we talk to them, and we talk to them. We could still talk to the Twilight Lodge. We can still talk to, yeah, so police, hospital, Twilight Lodge, and then also the Highway Cafe to talk to the Turkish immigrants, or the Telenews. So just in case, I'm going to go ahead and just write down where these things are and see what's going on with them. So Desolate Highway Cafe. That's going to be at N29. And then the Telenews. let's see here. That is going to be under... These are businesses in the back here. So the telenews is going to be under... Actually, what would that be under? Stores, maybe? No. University, utilities, warehouses, telenews. Where is this forsaken thing? Is it at the university? No, it's not at the university. Alright, where is this telenews thing here? It's not a financial institution. It's not a boarding house. It's not funeral home. Local culture? Aha, there it is. Telenews Cinema under local culture. D12. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Alright. World's greatest detective, the world's greatest hair. Alright, so... do we talk to... What do y'all think? What should I do? Should I go and should I talk to the police or go to the hospital and talk to the doctor? Or should I go investigate the Twilight Lodge, which we know are usually involved with occult things? Or should I go to the cafe and talk to the Turkish folk? Or should I go to the telenews and talk to the projectionist about what he knows about vampires? What are we thinking here? There's a lot of options. I'm curious. I think it would still... See, here's what I think. I think if we go to the police or the hospital, they're going to give us more details about the body. Now, the best thing that could come of that is I think if we got the victim's name, so we can investigate more as to what's associated with him, and it's possible that there's more going on with the victim other than the fact that he's just a guard, right? So he could just be a guard, and he's just wrong place, wrong time, or he could actually be more associated with it. Who knows? I think I'm gonna do one more lead with the old leads, I think. I want to go talk to... So, Dr. Corbett is what got handed off the body. The police investigated the entire scene. So I think we want to know more about the body. So I'm going to go talk to Dr. Corbett. That's what I'm going to do. So we're going to go to D45. All right, Dr. Corbett. Let's see what you got here. Aha, there we go. All right, D45. Dr. Corbett is hunched over several photographs with his back to the door, and yet he uncannily knows that it's you entering his lab. What's fascinating about this case is the evidence we don't have, and I don't just mean the corpse, skin, and blood. Corbett turns around to look at you. If I were going to steal someone's skin, I'd bring a car if I had one, wouldn't you? I mean, where did it all go? That's the real mystery here. Skin is heavy and messy. We had rain and we had mud. It's the perfect setup to see tire tracks, but there's nothing. He points to a series of photographs of the outside of the library. You shrug. So he walked? He flew? I don't know, but I know he didn't drive. Now, I'm not one to tell you how to do your job, but it occurs to me it's likely that your killer doesn't have a car. And if that's true, I bet he's been in a taxi in the last few days. Unless he flew, you add. Okay. So they're recommending that maybe we talk to a taxi driver. So the only reason I think this is bogus is because we said that there was no tire tracks whatsoever, which means that regardless of the fact that, like, him not having a car I don't think is relevant, because if he took a taxi there'd still be tire tracks, right? So I don't think we got anything out of that. I think that was just a waste of time. So Dr. Corbett, gonna cross him out. All right, let's go talk to these Turkish immigrants, and let's see what they have to say about the Brothers of the Skin. Let's go. So that's going to be N29. N29. Several immigrants from various African and Middle Eastern nations are here drinking coffee, playing chess, and engaging in lively debates. Your discussion with them doesn't reveal anything that contributes to your investigation. Bob Saget. All right. Well, that was a waste of time. That was an actual waste of time. That feels bad. That feels really bad. Is there anybody here? Okay, so that was useless. If the hospital was useless, I think the police are also useless. We need to find somewhere to get card 1. We already talked to Fenton. You're useless. I think out of the leads that we currently have, the most useful one is probably the Twilight Lodge, because they may have more information as to what kind of monster may have done this. So let's go do that. Let's go talk to Sebastian Lyman at L18. That's our guy on the inside. And if this is another wasted lead, I'm going to rip my beautiful hair out of my head. Oh, and it's right here. Beautiful. All right. Stepping into Sebastian Lyman's living room, you seem to have interrupted a conversation between Lyman and 2 sinister-looking men seated across from him. He waves for you to join him by the fireplace. I don't have much time to speak to you, I'm afraid, but I have an answer to your question. He points to the portrait of a dour-faced old man that hangs above the mantel. You were wondering about the identity of this man? You've never given the portrait any thought, and certainly have never asked Sebastian about it. But you play along. I was? He was a Scotsman from the clan McNaught. Of course, Knot has turned into Knight these days. Lyman smiles inscrutably. Ah, you say. He obviously can't talk directly. I'm afraid I must return to my current business. You should find me later, Lyman winks. We can speak again back at French Hill. And remember to bring that 64 Chateau Lafite Rothschild you've been promising me. Got it? The 64. You nod, but you are not sure his meaning. Lyman must want to meet with you in a more private place. Okay, so we can't really talk there. So let's see what we got out of this gentleman here. So he said McNaught became McKnight, so we need to write that down. So let's write McKnight. I don't know what relevance that has right now. He said we can speak at French Hill. So we have that. And he said the 64 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. So 64 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Now, he screamed 64 multiple times, so 64 has to be relevant here. Okay, so why is 64 relevant? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So we talked about McKnight, right? So let's look here and see what McKnight has in the book here, if anything. It does. It has a G McKnight. That's at F64. Oh! You see? 64. 64, right? That's what he yelled, right? Yes, got it. The 64. McKnight is at F64. How about that? Hot dog indeed. Like I said, world's greatest detective over here. All right. Now, French Hill. Let's look up and see where French Hill is. I don't know if it's going to be here. French Hill Transformer Station, F-23. Okay. So he said, so he pointed out 64. He said, got it, 64. So 64 is really important. But he said to meet up with him at French Hill. So he'll be at F-23 at the French Hill, but F-64 seems to be really important, right? Yeah, so hold on, let me read over this one more time. Now, you can read over these sections as much as you want while you're at the location, but once you go to a new location, you can't go back and read an old section unless you choose to revisit the location, which will cost you a time slot. Keep that in mind. You should find me later. We can speak again back at French Hill. And remember to bring that 64 chateau. I'm just going to follow the 64. 64 was obviously really important. That's what we're going to do. 64, 64. That is F64. Oh, yes. All right, F64. Beautiful. Ooh, you know you found a good one when it's a really long section, too. All right. Let's do this. Come in quickly, Lyman implores you. Once you're inside, he closes the door and locks it. I'm glad you took my meaning. Miss is currently out of town, and I needed a way to speak to you without being observed. Lyman takes a cautious glance out the curtained windows. Right now, every lodge member is under extreme scrutiny. Satisfied that you aren't being observed, he sits down. First of all, the Orne wasn't the only library this intruder tried to break into last night. Before going to Miskatonic, this would-be thief visited the lodge's private library and was similarly returned back by our protections. Only members of the Order know the location of this library. You have a traitor in your ranks, you ask. Lyman smiles grimly. Our oaths of loyalty are very, shall we say, compelling. I cannot imagine any of our living members betraying the secret. Could someone who's supposedly dead betray you? Someone dead did betray us, he responds. He wasn't dead at the time, however. In 1793, Jedediah Cahill's son snuck into that big empty house across from Hangman's Hill. People call it the unnameable. Yeah, unnameable. At any rate, it left the boy catatonic. The father was desperate to save his son. He joined our order, hoping to find a way to undo the damage. He stole an ancient, very powerful book from our library, thinking he could use it to preserve his son's life. I suppose it didn't work. You recall Armitage's words about telling the Watchman's parents about their son's death. Worse, Lyman says. When the abomination was discovered, Cahill was expelled from the Order and the book was moved to a different city. In the wake of Jedediah's mistake, 8 people were found dead, flayed and bloodless. Blamed for these murders, he was burned at the stake. You can see Lyman getting nervous, but you have more questions before you leave. What is in this book that's so dangerous? Lyman puts his finger to his mouth, indicating a secret he can't tell. I can say it is an earlier version of a text Armitage has in his library. It makes sense that this thing would go to where our copy used to be first. It's a somewhat addictive text. Once a person of a particularly obsessive temperament has been exposed to the book, he'll keep trying to regain it. Also, if he can't get the original, he'll make do with what he can. He may try to copy the text on the same medium as the original, human skin, but he'll never let it go. What happened to the son? Lyman shrugs. Noah? At the time, that wasn't the Order's concern. Now I'm hoping you can tell me. I need to leave now. I'll exit out the back door. Wait 10 minutes, and then leave the way you came in. Take requirement cards 1 and 2. So I got these things right here. So we know that with card number 1, if I can go back and talk to the professor, this will jog her memory, and maybe she'll be able to give me some more information. But first, before I leave, let's go over this section and let's figure out what I can get out of it. So, let's see. Jedediah Cahill's son. And then he said the son's name. So, let's see. We have Jedediah Cahill. And then his son was Noah Cahill. Cahill? I don't know how to say it. So, and then Noah said, so let's see exactly what happened to this kid again. Snuck into that big empty house across from Hangman's Hill. So, let me see. House across Hangman's Hill. So, I need to find Hangman's Hill and see what's across from it. People call it the Unnameable. So, let's put... Unnameable. Okay. At any rate, left the boy catatonic. People found dead. So after he did this, after he used this book, 8 people died the exact same way that this guy died. So that's relevant. His mouth indicating a secret he can't tell. He said that it's an early version of a text Armitage has in his library. So, Armitage has a library book that we need. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. So let's look see if we have a Cahill in the directory here. Cahill. No Cahill here, unfortunately. Alright. So, let's try and find Hangman Hill. Alright, so I'm just going to put that there. Hangman's Hill. Alright. Where's that going to be? Ah, over here is at M2. It said the big house across from Hangman's Hill. Alright, so Hangman's Hill is at M2. And across from Hangman's Hill, we have 3 things. We have M3, M67, and M35. Let me take a look here and see if I can... Let's see. Let's cross-reference that with what we currently have in the book here. So let's start at the front. I'm just going to kind of breeze over this real fast. M67. So M67 is occupied. 67... M3, M35. M35. So that is occupied. So let's just go ahead and take a look here. What's the other one here? I'm looking for M35 or M3. Let's 35 or 3. 35 or 3. Little bit of a detective work here, which you got to do sometimes. Because if somebody lives here, then that means that, like, what I'm doing is I'm checking these locations, and if there's someone that lives at that location, then that means it's not the big abandoned house there. So we're looking for the one that doesn't have a location here. So M3, M35. This isn't the most exciting part, but it is very important though. Yeah, M3, M35. I'm hoping I get something out of this, because if I do all this and still don't have 35. Now, I guess there's also these, because like Hangman's Hill is here, and then these are the 3 I'm looking at. But there's also these, I guess, I could take a look at here. But I'm going to just assume that it's one of these other ones I'm looking at. So M35 or M3. Nothing here yet. Have not found either of them. And I'm doing... Now, I could just kind of Hail Mary and just pick one of these places to go. But I don't want to waste a time slot. So I'm just going to do a little bit of digging here and save myself inside of the game. So, nope, 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 no, no, nope. Nope, none of those. Nope. We're getting closer, but not quite. Nothing yet.